皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Shogo's podcast. So, the title, the thumbnail of this podcast might have been really shocking to you because if we usually talk about Bushido, it's something that everyone admires and cherishes, right? But this story is actually something that I studied from a book that was written by a social psychologist, a Japanese social psychologist, talking about how Japanese people are misunderstanding Japanese people, how we are and where we should be heading towards to make a better society. And I thought, well, I'm not here to say that his idea, his claims and assertions are completely perfect and I totally agree with it. I mean, I need to do a lot more studying about it, but I thought it'd be really interesting to share with you in advance. I really hope to make a video in my main channel too, but I'm having a hard time trying to wrap up my story, this whole really big theme, right? So I thought maybe I can share with you here in the sub channel in advance and then possibly make a video in the main channel. If you see a similar title in the main channel's video, you will know that it's this story. Yes. So the book, first of all, starts from talking about Japan. We need to first of all understand that Japan is a groupism, a collectivism, if that's the right word, society. So this groupism, collectivism society is the opposite of individualism. So it's a society that refers to ideas and tendencies that values groups rather than individuals. So again, it's the opposite of individualism. So the group is more important than individuals, is collectivism, groupism, and Japan is that society. Well, so you might feel that that's pretty obvious taking a look at my videos talking about the social problems and such. But let's take a closer look at this. So to understand why Japan became a groupism society, a collectivism society. So there was many experiments he did inside the book, but to make it really short, I want you to imagine having for example, 10, 20 people living inside this small cage. If everyone worked together, everyone would have enough food to eat. Yeah, so it's a very harsh environment, right? Living inside a small cage. And if everyone worked together, everyone would barely have enough to eat, okay? And this cage, it's already small, it's already very uncomfortable for everyone to live in. But once in a while, terrible disasters would happen. Sometimes the room would get extremely small or flooded, or sometimes the people won't be able to get enough food for everyone, and they would sometimes have to fight with each other and such. So this cage that you just imagined, this is Japan. Okay, so Japan is an island with 70% of its land is mountains where it's hard to grow crops. And also we're one of the countries that has the most number of natural disasters, earthquakes and volcano eruptions and landslides and typhoons and tsunamis, everything, right? So Japan became this place where everyone needed to cooperate with each other. You can't have this person who is very selfish and doesn't cooperate, right? Otherwise, having this one person that's like that would definitely risk all the lives of the people within the cage. And the people who are living inside the cage usually wouldn't try to act like that because they would know there's nowhere to run, right? If you're living inside the cage, if you're a person that stands out or do something strangely, you have all the other 9 people, seeing you as an enemy, a bad person everyone would definitely slander and attack you, right? So that is the reason why in this book explains that groupism society, collectivism society will have these kind of characteristics. For example, each person will try to act polite as much as possible, but only on the surface. So the people living inside this cage will learn their skills to try to get along, yes, but not actually show what they're truly thinking or feeling inside their heart. Yes, that's one thing. Another thing, again, keeping harmony will be the top priority within the people living inside the cage inside Japan. So their skills of reading the air. Yes, trying to understand the relationships between the people and trying to understand how you need to act within the group for you to survive. The skills will be very, very high. The skill levels will be very high of reading the air. Yes. And also, this is very interesting. The people living inside the cage will automatically trust each other because the people living inside the cage know that no one would betray another person because there's no merits. It's not worth betraying someone because you don't have anywhere to go. And if you can't cooperate with the other people, if you don't have the other people trusting you, you can't survive, right? Because you're living inside such a harsh environment. So people will automatically trust each other no matter what. Yes. So that also makes it look like the people, again, like from the first characteristic too, if you look at it from the outside of the cage, it looks like the people are very polite and also very getting along, with harmony and such like that. Maybe like in society today, maybe it'd be like Japanese people always getting in lines or, always caring for people, like moving out of the way, like riding escalators, so people would always line up on the side and let the other people climb up the stairs or the escalators, for example, and such. People talk about that, but this might be because Japan is a collective groupism society, right? So, and the last one is very interesting too. The people living inside the cage, again, trust each other automatically because they know within the rules within the cage, people will automatically be able to trust each other. But on the other hand, outsiders, people who are from the outside of the cage, they don't have any reason to trust them, right? Because there is no cage. Yes. Within the cage, there are these rules that everyone understands and everyone's good at reading the air, right? But outside the cage, people don't know how to interact with them, how to communicate with them. So the people living inside the groups and society, the collective society, tend to be very, very unfriendly to the people and cannot trust people who are outside from the cage because they don't know the rules and systems within the cage, right? Yes. So this sounds a lot like Japan, doesn't it? Yes. So it's really interesting, trying to look at it this way. The environment of Japan being an island with a lot of natural disasters and a lot of mountains and trees brings Japanese people to be like this. And this isn't, we're by the way, we're not talking about good or bad. Because from the outside, there's a lot of people who like Bushido and Japanese politeness and, being really punctual on time and such, right? So taking a look at from the outside, Japan looks very neat and clean and, and such like that. We're very polite and such. So there is the pros and cons, yes. So people could get along as long as there's a cage. But the problem is from here, what the author of this book, the professor, talks about. The problem of Japan today is Japan a cage today, right? No, it's not. Japan has globalized and anyone can go anywhere they want to. We have the internet. We can connect with people outside. So what this author of this book is trying to say is that Japan right now today is suffering from the transaction, from changing, transforming from collectivism, from groupism to individualism. So this is the answer I feel for now, so far, from the study I've been doing, is a really big answer to all of these social problems that's happening today in Japan. So we're starting to interact, communicate, connect with more people outside, but we don't have experience. Japanese people don't have experience or history of actually having a deep relationship with people outside the cage. And also, in the past, because the group was always more important, at schools, you are taught to be normal, not to stand out. At workplaces, you are taught that superiors are always more important, right? But at the same time, people, the cage, again, the group will not protect you. So the superiors, the people in power, like the people who decide how to educate the kids and such, want to still use the rules within the cage, but in Japan today there is no cage. The cage won't protect the people and the young today. So do you understand? There's this very big contradiction here that's happening. And I thought this was really, really interesting. Yes. And getting back to the main theme here, the reason why this author says that Bushido is going to ruin Japan is because Bushido, this idea, this theme, is the ideal way of living, an ideal person inside the cage, inside a groupism society. Bushido is an ideal way of living. But again, so a lot of Japanese people today say that Japan has a lot of social problems. There's, for example, bullying at school, even at workplaces. There are a lot of, for example, racism and such. And the reason why these bad things are all happening is because we're forgetting the samurai soul and our Bushido. We need to go back to Bushido, remember who we are, with pride, with honor, with loyalty and such. But this author says, no, that's the other way around. Japan is now trying to move on to individualism, right? But cherishing and idealizing Bushido again, that means we're trying to go back into the cage. So that's the other way around, right? So I hope, it's a really hard story. I hope I'm making myself clear. But I really thought this statement was super, super interesting to study about. But again, the important part is, the author is saying that Japan is moving on to individualism society, and Bushido is the groupism ideal, right? Dream, goal, right? So that's going the other way around, and it's going to be making the suffering of Japanese people worse. But then, does that mean we should completely discard Bushido? Should we completely forget about it? But what about the good parts about Bushido? What about the good parts about Japanese traditional culture, or about this original society that the world thought was beautiful, right? Its politeness, for its cleanness and such. Should we all just throw that away and completely move into individualism? This is going to be the next theme that I need to continue studying about. So it's inevitable that Japan is moving on to an individualism society, but then which parts of the older society, the caged society, that we need to inherit in order to maintain the good parts about Japanese society, right? So I thought this was really, really interesting, and it also gave me hope that Japan can change. It can become a better place. And maybe if I'm able to find what parts of Bushido or Japanese social culture that we should inherit, maybe we can give another hint to making the individualism society better, right? So I thought, wow, this book is super interesting. And I know my story was really difficult to understand probably listening to this, but I'm really looking forward to making a full script for my main channel. So I hope you can look forward to that, and I hope this was interesting to listen to. Yes, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, or if some parts of the story wasn't clear, please let me know in the comments. That'd be great. Let's have the discussion. Or you can directly give me a message through Instagram too. Yes. Alright, then thank you so much for your time, and I really look forward to making a video in the main channel too. Alright everyone, thank you so much. Goodbye.